Welcome to the Growth and Banter Podcast. My name is Blake McCullough, CEO and founder of GMS Media Group, one of Australia's leading digital advertising agencies. This podcast is for anyone looking to learn the insights and strategies of industry leaders and how to build a successful life. Today, we're joined by Harry Garside, former Olympic medalist and professional boxer, and we're going to learn his journey of how he became a professional boxer. Welcome, Harry.
Thanks for having me. Very excited.
Mate, it's good to have you on. Mate, you've just recently come off the back of a win, 3-year hiatus in professional boxing, but you've rose to fame winning gold at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, and then was it bronze at the Olympic Games in 2020 the summer? Yeah. And since then, you've done different things with your hiatus, with going on shows like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But yeah, I watched your fight recently. Amazing. Didn't look like you had a second out of the game at all. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of all that, we'd love to sort of just get a good idea of like how you got started with boxing and what led you into becoming a professional boxer.
Yeah, I started boxing at the age of 9, but I think childhood often directs us in the decisions we make, especially going into your teenage years. And I think looking at my childhood now as a 27-year-old man, I think I always felt my masculinity got questioned. I'm the youngest of 3 boys, and my 2 older brothers are quite strong and they seemed quite fearless. My dad was also quite an old school Aussie ochre bloke, always sort of like reference his childhood, like getting in scuffles with people and stuff like that. And I think I felt quite soft compared to my 2 brothers and my dad. And I think I initially started boxing to sort of gain their respect because I think it's quite natural. Like I'm the youngest, I'm the smallest, but you want the respect from the men around you. And I'm really grateful at the age of 9 that I walked into the gym because I fell in love with the sport for many different reasons. But I think that was the initial reason as to why I wanted to. And then
like proving them in a way.
Yeah, just proving to them that I'm more like them, I'm similar to them, because I always did get referenced. Like they would put me down a bit, but like, a laughy and jokey, they always had my back and they always loved me.
I can resonate even having 1 older brother, let alone 3 older brothers.
Yeah, it's just like that, and I was really close to my mum growing up, like always was doing things that she wanted to do, and I was a little bit more inclined, a bit softer to sort of do the more woman stuff in the household and stuff like that. And I think in that, my brothers and my dad sort of looked down upon me. But I think over time, I did actually naturally get their respect, which was quite nice.
Nice one. And 3 years out of the game, and then to come back and like put on a show like you did a couple of weeks ago. Was it last week or the week before?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago, yeah. What was the motivation for you taking that time off? Like what was the initial thought around having a bit of a break, and then sort of the purpose and the motivation about having that time off?
Yeah, I had 3 years out of the professional boxing scene, but I was still very much boxing. In that time, I very much focused on amateur boxing, which is Olympic boxing. And they're 2 different types of sport. It's like long distance running and short distance running. Like they are different. They're both running. But I spent a lot of my time focusing on trying to win an Olympic gold medal. And then I actually did spend a bit of time away from the sport. I think it was late 2022 leading into 2023. That's when I was exploring other options like TV shows and stuff like that, which was it's almost like a bit of a pinch myself moment. Like I started boxing as a young boy and I never thought in a million years that I would get asked to go on a TV show. I'm like, I never started it for that reason. Yeah. And I think there was an element looking back now, I think I did get distracted with that. Like all these like things coming at me so quickly, and I was quite young at the time. I was like 24, 25. I didn't really know how to handle the world coming at me so quickly. And I think I did get distracted a little bit. And I think I kind of had average years in boxing 2023, 2024. And I think that's because I did get distracted. There's a good Kobe Bryant quote. It's like rest at the end, not in the middle. Yeah. And I think I started resting in the middle a little bit. I think you're getting offered to do like a photo shoot and they've offered you this money. I'm thinking, whoa, like I grew up with no money. Like my parents didn't have much money. And
you can get in the comfort zone pretty quickly.
100%. And I'm just really grateful that I think I've realized that now. I got distracted. I'm back on path. I'm focusing on, becoming the best athlete I can be. And I think in turn, I think I lost my respect as an athlete to myself. And I think I just really want to work to get that back over the next 3 years. That's why I'm back.
So you've sort of regained motivation in that process by sort of, getting a bit distracted and going, nah, you fuck that. This is my path.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite nice. Like I'm quite spiritual, but I do think the universe like directs us in the ways that we need to go.
For sure.
I always think the universe is working for me, not against me. And even in those years that I did get distracted, I think I needed to do that. I think I needed to learn the lessons that I did over the last 2 years, which was like quite amazing. And I'm really grateful that I did that. But now I feel like more mature, more switched on, clearer in my direction, which is nice.
Yeah, it's funny. We want to almost think that we have our own choice around destiny. I even did a numerology test yesterday, and it was just crazy to see what's mapped out and like things I'm already doing that are already imprinted and things that happens already in that timeline without even telling him. So yeah, we do have a level of destiny, even though we do have a lot of choice in our life. What do you think's harder, reality TV or boxing?
I think I feel safer in boxing, which is weird, right?
More
Boxing,
vulnerable on reality TV.
Way more vulnerable. I think just doing something for so long, and I started as a young boy, so naturally you do build confidence. Yes, that can go in and out of confidence and feeling like supremely confident. I definitely have had times in my career where I didn't feel confident, but I think I'm quite safe in boxing. Like I know what I'm doing. I feel comfortable there. I absolutely love it. I'm addicted to the high that you feel from a fight and fight week. But yeah, reality TV, I think just live TV in general is quite, you could say the wrong thing and ruin your whole life.
We're talking about this on the way in, unrelated to you being on TV, but just like how damaging it can be going on a show and them portraying you to someone that you're not. I had a friend that's just been on one, and it's the backlash of it's been pretty intense. And I think more often than not, people have pretty poor experiences on certain shows like, The Bachelor and Maths and all that, thinking they're going to get a bit of fame, but completely turns the opposite direction, right?
Yeah, I think it's like we're almost all chasing status. There's a good book, I think it's called like The Status Game. It just come out. It's quite interesting. I'm like halfway through listening to it. And I think we all are naturally, we're at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And most people in Western civilization, I think we're all sort of searching for that moral virtue, that moral signal that we're the good people and we're, validated and we're exceptional. Like it's like the identity politics.
Yeah.
And I think we all are searching for that, especially because all of our other stresses are kind of taken care of, right?
For sure. And like we're in a bit of an identity economy right now. Like everyone I bring on this show, there is an element of like personal brand and building that identity. And I think whether you're doing it on a micro level or macro level, you're dead right. Like everyone's chasing that level of authority or like purpose in life. So it makes complete sense. Now let's talk about your most recent fight. I watched some of the undercards as well. That heavyweight match was out of control. And I know you haven't watched it, but mate, you got to watch that. That was insane.
Yeah, two big boys. Honestly, I'm really grateful that I'm 60 kilos. I don't want to be 100 plus.
Mate, even Ivic at the end of it when he won it, he's just like, I don't know. He goes, "What the fuck happened in round 4? I got smashed. Where did he come from?" But it was just incredible. Like the whole fight, all the undercards was fantastic, and then watching yourself come on and mate, you put an absolute masterclass. Like, talk us through that. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I think I naturally just had like a lot of pressure on myself. It's quite interesting. Like I think like naturally, of course, we care about other people's approval and other people's attention. But I think I very much do think that a lot of what's driving me right now is like self-inflicted. And I'm very much just craving my own respect. I think I did lose that over the last 3 years, getting distracted and I guess, taking some shortcuts in boxing and prioritizing other things rather than your boxing career. And I just feel like way clearer right now. So then in that, I feel like I'm not there yet, but I feel like it was a massive step in the right direction when it comes to gaining my respect again as an athlete.
Yeah. And how comfortable did you feel in the ring? Like, was there a bit of a, did you feel like you were sort of on top of it from the get-go? Because it definitely looked like it.
Yeah, I felt I was really nervous, but I was like naturally before a fight, like it's the most primitive and beautiful feeling. Like
and no one can say that, right? Like when you're watching a fight, like you don't know what's going on internally with fighters.
I love it. Like I think it's like I can't imagine what it would be like fighting in a war zone or something like that. But I think it's arguably what I think the closest thing we can feel to like what it means to be an animal, what our ancestors would have had to do to survive. And, and I just think it's so beautiful and it's in a controlled environment. So I think to exercise that, I know life sometimes can feel boring, but when I'm doing that, it doesn't.
Yeah. And then what happened at the 6, because it was 6 rounds, wasn't it? And then it was called off at the 5th. What happened there? A bit of controversy there.
Yeah, I actually felt sorry for him. So I didn't know what happened. I thought his corner called him.
I didn't know either. Like,
so I had no idea. So then I was just like, and then I found out that the referee stopped it, which I thought was pretty bad, to be honest. Like I thought my opponent wasn't showing signs of being knocked out, or like I felt like he deserved to finish the fight for sure. But the referee's job is to just protect athletes. And I think he was thinking that maybe my opponent was copying too much damage. But I personally think, my opponent deserved to finish the last round for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely. I feel like you're winning every round, but I agree. Like he wasn't so out of it that he couldn't continue. I
completely agree. Yeah, I felt bad for him when I knew. I was like, I didn't know it at the time, but then I got out of the ring. I was like, oh no.
I thought it might have been a cut thing, but you both had cuts from the headbutt early on, right?
Yeah.
Like yours is held up pretty well already. Was that a distraction with the cut?
Yeah, massive distraction. I think you've got to adapt real quickly when that happens, especially happening in the first minutes, which is wild. So quickly into the fight, and I think you do change up your tactics a little bit. But I think my corner did such an amazing job. Like by about round 3, if not round 4, like completely finished bleeding, which is really nice.
Yeah, they were saying that through the fight.
It's almost like everything's a bit of a blessing, like when you zoom out far enough. But like it almost makes you switch on more. You go, oh, this is like a massive hurdle that I've got to like jump in the first minute of the fight, and it could really throw someone off. But I think you just got to like adapt in the right direction. And as I said, a bit of a blessing because I had to box smarter, way more in tune with what I was doing rather than just doing. Like I had to actually be a bit more intentional. Yeah.
And Tim Tszyu is an example of like that getting completely distracted, like with his fight when he got cut on the top of the head.
His was a lot worse in the sense of like the blood was
just going straight down his eyes. Yeah.
And I've had a number of times where I've been cut and only in one eye. I can't imagine what it would have been like for both. But there's been times where you genuinely can't see and you're just hoping for the best, right?
Imagine that. And even UFC, it gets even worse when you get eye poked, right? And then you got cuts and you got fucking...
The UFC is so gnarly.
Gnarly. Would you ever give it a go?
I've said to myself, but to be honest, man, I'm a bit of a pussy. So I don't know. Like I feel quite safe in boxing. But
like that's just next level
that's a bit
shit,
like when
right?
they're hammer fisting someone's face.
Like I actually prefer watching a really good boxing match. Like even UFC, it's good to watch, but fuck, I get so anxious watching UFC.
It's intense. Yeah, it's intense. It's like you're down at the pub watching two blokes.
I did this big like meditation weekend, and I was meant to come back, and like part of the indoctrination is to just sort of like chill and relax yourself. And I put the UFC on, ordered it, and I'm sitting there going, I've just completely fucked the indoctrination here, sitting there as an anxious mess, and I was watching all these fights for like fucking 3 hours. But yeah, in terms of, I know like you love putting yourself in vulnerable situations, and boxing is one of those. Being on, the TV show would have been very vulnerable, but you also do like monthly sort of put yourself in situations to make yourself feel uncomfortable. You've done some pretty crazy ones. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so we did this program. So I won the Commonwealth Games in 2018, and I was 21 that time. And at the end of the 2018, we did this program with the Commando Regiment and past Olympic gold medalists. It was called the Gold Medal Ready program, and it was pretty much just like a 3-day thing focused on just challenging us athletes so we can, be a bit stronger mentally. And the thing I took most from it was, if you want to grow as a human or as an athlete, go to the places you feel most uncomfortable. And I think more than anywhere in the world, Western world needs that. If you want to, because everything is, as I said before, if you don't know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the bottom level is like survival, shelter, food. The next one's like emotional needs. Everyone arguably in Western civilization is, or definitely Australia, is at the top.
Oh, for sure.
Or very close to the top, at least. And I think in that, we need to go to places where we feel,
particularly when everyone's out there watching Desperate Housewives.
100%. 100%. I think if you want to grow, and you don't have to do it physically. Like I've done 78 challenges, so 78 months in a row. So
and you're still doing it?
Yeah, the last year, I want to make it to 100. So the last like 7 years. Just focusing on this and doing one challenge a month and just watching my growth as a person, but then also as an athlete. Has been
just building like thick skin and resilience.
It's amazing, yeah. And it's also like bringing a sense of enjoyment. Like there's a good quote that I love. There's no evidence in this world to prove that this life is serious. And quite often we take life so serious, and rightly so. You know? But like I don't have kids, or I don't have like real issues, right? Or real responsibilities more so. But like I very much love that every month I've got to think about a challenge. Some can be funny, some can be hard, some can be emotional, but each challenge does inevitably make me feel very, very uncomfortable. And then in that I grow a lot. Yeah,
you're right. Like society, I think if you put on the news every night and you get sort of, stuck in that societal construct, you can get really serious with what goes on around you.
Yeah. And so you should. Like, I don't know what it's like to have kids, you know, so I am talking from a place of ignorance. Like, if I had kids.
I don't have kids yet either, so I'm not going to mirror that. And I take my hat off to any mum and dad whilst also running a business or doing anything of substantiation.
I completely agree. But I just think, like, right now, especially, like, before I want to be a dad, like, if you can grow and find out who you are, you know, as much as you can, I think it's just going to make you a good dad.
And I think it's almost an obligation, right? I think a lot of people skip that. And I think like they almost don't know themselves before they then start a family. I'm like you as well. Like I'm a bit structured and I sort of want to, you know, get things in place before I bring people into this world. So I've been a little bit slow to the sort of game than a lot of my friends have, but that's just the way I work, right? Like I just wouldn't feel comfortable if I didn't have things in place or if I haven't gone out and done a lot in my life.
Do you ever feel like that? Like, because I feel the exact same, but I feel like it pushes it back so far that you can always find, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
You know, then you end up pushing, you're like, oh my God, I'm 40.
It's almost like, you think like, oh fuck, like I'm just going to have, there's no perfect time. Like I'm just going to have to jump in. You're right. Like I can continue fine.
I'm the same.
Like I'm not, I need to build this first and I need to get that in place and I need to have this amount of money and I need to be fucking set up like this. I'm going to have to just jump into it at one point for sure. But I guess that's also, my dad was, I think, 40 or 41 when he had me. So I'm 35. So I think that's also been forced. It's like, don't get married young. Don't get married young. Don't get married young. Yeah. So you are a product of your environment as well in that scenario.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now I want to hear, because I know you've done one where it's like, you know, being on the traffic lights and doing because I think that's probably like up there with what would be one of the scariest ones. But what's been the top 3 most vulnerable moments or sort of events you've done? Yeah,
it's hard to pick. I'd have to look at the list properly, but like the ones that come to mind, like I did 50 hours no talking. I love to talk, you know? And I actually, it made me have a lot of like empathy and compassion, because how I felt during that 50 hours, I honestly felt like I was going to implode, because I felt like my whole life before that moment, I always thought that boxing or training was the thing that regulated me.
Yeah.
I exert some energy, I feel regulated, and then I get tense between sessions, and then I exert some energy again. That's how I've always thought that I balance myself out. But what I actually realized in that 50 days was I was still training throughout that process.
And 50 hours or 50 days?
50 hours.
Okay.
No, I can't imagine 50 days. Jesus Christ. I struggle with 50 hours.
I know there's like a 10-day one, but 50 days.
But what I realized was talking is actually a massive way that I release a lot of my energy and feel neutral and balanced. And it really made me think around, like, there would be a lot of people, and I think a lot of men in this world, who feel quite silent and feel they don't know, they might not have the emotional literacy or the person that they can properly trust and confide in with some deep information. I'm not saying females don't experience that, because I'm sure they do, but they have better systems where they bitch to their friend or talk to their friend and get it off their chest, right?
So true.
And in that 50 hours, I genuinely was like, I noticed my mental health starting to spiral. I'm I wonder how many men or people would feel like this. Because
you haven't been heard over that period, and you're just like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, a lot of people are introverts. They don't want to, they're not natural communicators. Like I've had to teach myself communication. I was very quiet and sheltered, and you know, that's probably come from a bit more of a structured upbringing. But I've had to really push past that boundary, whereas now communication I thrive on. But you do see a lot of people who are introverted. There's probably a lot of internal thoughts going on, right?
Yeah, for sure. So that was a really good one. As you said, washing windows.
Windows,
and I chose the worst day to do that.
Did you bump into anyone you know?
I actually did. So some of the Hello Sport podcast boys, I forget which one, I was thinking it was Tom, and he pulled up, he's like, Harry. And I did a podcast with him like 5 days before, and he's like, mate, is everything all good? Like, I was like, oh, mate, I just had to explain to him quickly because the light was about to turn green. He's like, I just do this weird challenge. He's like, geez, you're a pretty strange bloke. I'm like, oh, I know I am.
Did he give you a buck?
No, he didn't. Bastard. I did like begging at what's called a train station. I begged for money. That one made me feel a bit sick, like in the sense of like I felt like. And I don't know if it's the person's fault, because I probably do this as well, but like I felt like people were just walking past me, and I felt no more important than like the chewing gum on the ground, or like I felt so small and unseen, because I think I've felt it inside myself when sometimes I walk past someone on the street who's begging. Like I don't want to make eye contact, out of sight, out of mind. But I think what that taught me was like, if you don't have money, like a smile would I think potentially they might feel seen or they might feel validated, because a lot of people don't carry cash. But from now on, I've always just tried my best to smile at them or smile in their direction. and if I have money then to spare, then definitely give it to them. But each one's been different. I've had some hard conversations with like family members, like my dad. That was one of the first ones. 100Ks on Bondi Beach on the sand.
That's a lot.
Some are physical, some are hard, some are emotional. But as I said, I'm a completely different person from when I started.
Did you do you did the Cooper Park Steps ones, didn't you, as well?
That was just like a little,
just a little effort. I live like right around the corner from
those
there.
bastard stairs. I think I did about 4 hours just up and down.
Mate, I did, I think 5 of them, and my calves were cooked for like 3 days. I think you did like 100.
I want to do Coogee stairs. That would be like a genuine bastard. Coogee stairs are
Mate, stairs are something different.
Not for the faint-hearted. Yeah.
Particularly when like I sit down and I work at a desk, like, and then just going and doing even 4 of those, like that cooked me for days.
Yeah. It's good though.
My girlfriend and I were just like hobbling around. We're just like, what have we done? Hectic. What's been the funnest ones?
I think like the accomplishment, I did the month of pain where it was just a physical, I love testing myself physically because I think there is something beautiful around pushing what you think is capable inside yourself. And in the month I did a half Ironman, a 60K run. A few days after I did 100Ks on the sand, and then another triathlon, all in the space of a month. And it's just nice to like, I think physical is just so easy, like to just it's not easy, but like it's just nice to build your confidence inside yourself because you know you're capable and you're strong. The ones that I think have been most impactful is like having a conversation with a loved one about something really important that I think we're holding on to. They've definitely been the most like intense, you know?
So more of the human interaction ones have been the toughest.
You can like, I could say something right now, but this isn't pure vulnerability because like arguably we don't know each other, right? But then if I went and spoke to my dad and said something really deep and meaningful, like that's hard. You can be vulnerable on a podcast. You can be vulnerable in your bedroom by yourself talking to a camera. But like go say those things to someone you really love. And that's proper vulnerability.
So I can relate because you got to have hard conversations sometimes with your loved ones, you know, and they are sometimes the toughest relationships you have are those closest to you, as they say, right? And you sometimes take, you know, certain things out on those closest to you as well. Yeah.
I've always thought that like when you're speaking purely from your heart, like pure vulnerability only breeds connection. Like when you're being like fully truthful and honest about how you're feeling, I think, as I said, I only feel it breeds connection. So it's just hard. It's just hard to do them.
No, mate, really I can relate. Like I said, I think the one thing that fucking broke my communication skills was I was working at an education event company. We used to promote public speakers and you know, used to sell their own courses on stage. And then when I started my business 10 years ago, I used to get asked to go on stage, and you can't say no to those things because it's like a promotional tool for your business. And the first time I got up on stage, like I crumbled, you know, and I was shocking at public speaking when I was at uni, but you just got to push past that barrier, right? Because it's just a muscle. You just got to train it.
And I think it's, I've argued this, I argue myself all the time. Like I play devil's advocate in certain issues that I believe, or I really like that I do that. But I think like, it seems like from the outside perspective, and maybe this is me too, but like it probably is in some areas, but I feel like we're all in like mental prisons and we're the gatekeeper. Like we have the key, you know, but we're forcing ourselves into this prison. And I think I very much just tried to like break that as much as I possibly can, because there is something inside of me that believes I'm not worthy of anything, you know? And if you want to continuously live like that, you will be the smallest version of yourself ever. You know, but I genuinely try and challenge myself because there is also something else inside of me that believes I could be my wildest dreams, and they're both in conflict of each other. And it's just that never ending battle, right? Between those two things inside self.
And it's like, mate, it's a common thread with like reading a book or like what you're doing right now. It's just like that resilience and practice makes perfect. Like that probably all goes into what makes you such a great professional, you know? And then I think like, I know there's some other unconventional things you've done in the past, like, you know, undertaking ballet, which I'm sure probably helps a lot with your footwork. Like you dance around the ring, like you're so light on your feet, and that would have a huge impact to your performance as well. Like what are some other unconventional, like talk us through sort of what made that decision on?
Yeah, I've always been really interested in performance arts, like from a young age. I remember I used to get bullied by my brothers for like watching High School Musical or Center Stage. Like they would bully me, but then they would sit next to me and like watch it. Hold on a minute. But I've always like really liked dance, and I think I'm quite spiritual, and I think boxing is like, arguably one of the most primitive states that you can go in or combat sport. And I think a lot of ancient cultures they told the story through dance and through song and through things like that. And I think it is also quite primitive dancing. Like if you ever want to start doing uncomfortable challenges, if you're not a dancer, go do a dance class. Could be jazz, could be whatever you want. But like inevitably you'll be nervous as hell before you go in there. And that feeling after when you finally accomplish that, or you feel that feeling of like you had so many internal voices that everyone's judging you, you don't want to do it, and you still do it. Like it's so electric. I know Bridget, who connected us, who works for you, me and Bridget have done a few dance classes together, and like you feel so nervous and awkward and uncomfortable, but like that feeling after, you honestly just like, I feel like you're on top of the world, which is the best.
Fuck, I reckon that would be scary for me.
I challenge you, mate. Honestly, go with your partner or something.
I'll do it. That and singing, I think for me, like maybe dancing and singing together, put those together and put me on stage, and I'll freak the fuck out.
I did a karaoke for one of them, and I had to take it full serious. Like, I couldn't take the piss because it's quite easy to get up there and just like joke around and be funny, but I had to be full serious, and that's like visceral. You know, you're sweating everywhere. I was like, oh my god,
mate, it's like the Inspired Unemployed. Have you watched the Practical Jokers and the shit that they do? And it was good like stuff. Oh, what was one of them? They do a speech at a wedding and they cooked that one. What was another one?
There was one I saw recently.
The stand-up comedy
in South Africa. Oh my god, I felt so uncomfortable.
So cringeworthy. Like, yeah, but that's like, you know, another way of them just fucking going out there and, you know, giving it a crack.
Yeah, for me, it's just like life is for living, and I only believe that we have one shot at this. I don't believe in like an afterlife, or I don't really know what happens, and I just think like it's up to us if we want to live small and like, you know, work for paycheck to paycheck, like, or it's especially when you're born in a place like Australia that has endless opportunities for most people, if not all people, comparatively speaking to the rest of the world. And I just think like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not to like soak up as much as you can.
Yeah, I think people literally assume that they're going to be forever. They've got that mentality of like, nah, I'll sit on it, or they don't take action, or they expect it to be given to them, or they just will expect someone else to do it for them. Like there's so much of that mentality in Australia. And then when someone breaks that mold and goes out and does it, people want to shoot them down. It's such a weird concept.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. I think that comes from like our English background of like the history of the English having like 1% of the population, the royals, the clergy, which is the Catholic Church or the church. It's like they owned like 99.9% of the wealth and the power and the control. And then the 99% of the population were like servants almost, right? And I think that comes down to when someone's doing, it comes from a history of like, there's like a massive portion who are making all the decisions, have all the money, like a small portion of them, and they control the 99%. And I think that comes down to what, like where Tall Poppy was started, but it does suck, you know? It does suck. I love America. Like they see a doctor driving a Lamborghini, they think, I want to be a doctor. We see a doctor driving a Lamborghini, we think he's stealing all of our money.
So true.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the way the world works, right? Like 90% of the money comes from top 10% of the population. It's just so skewed in, you know, it's so favored to the rich of the world. Yeah,
it does break my heart though, because I think it only comes down to like the individual belief, and maybe that is done by the system. Like maybe the system, the capitalist driven system is like feeding all of our insecurities and stuff like that. So then people feel small. Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't challenge that and they just believe what they're told about themselves. And I think most humans, if not all humans, have the potential to be something amazing if they want it. Especially, as I said, living in Australia, like we have so much opportunity.
Mate, huge amount of opportunity here. Hence why there's like I think a lot of people wanting to live here and, you know, immigrate here. And it's there's that, like you said, like it's almost like an untapped environment because of the proximity. But yeah, there is a huge amount of potential with, I guess, the pressure that goes into, you know, a lot of people would look up to you. You know, also having the pressure of maintaining that sort of status that you've got going at the moment, and you know what is sort of, you know, almost at the start of your career. How do you feel your audience and public perceives you? Like, has there been any backlash? Like, how is it what's the pressure like to being in the spotlight?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember, I think it was 2022. So 2021 was probably when I got to a level of like you walk down the street and it's quite often you would get recognized. But before then, it's like...
From the Olympic Games.
Yeah, from the Olympic Games, yeah. And then
And because of COVID, everyone's watching it, right? They're on the TV.
100%. And I I don't know. I didn't really know how to handle it for the first 12 months, especially. And you're reading the comments, and some of them are negative, most of them are positive. But you're like getting very much like it's you. Like, and I think I realized that in 2022, and I actually had someone take over my social media because I was like, you read 99% positive comments about yourself, which is what it is. It's like you start thinking you're some sort of god or some legend. And then it's like you read that one comment because you think you're a god. It's like that. It's just easily cut down.
Yeah.
And I said, it's all bullshit in the sense of like, I'm so grateful that there's so many people who love me and support me and get around some of the things that I stand for. But like, it is a fake environment. Like, it's not me completely. It's a version of me. It's a part of me, but it's not me completely. And I remember I wrote a poem, I think it was in 2022, and it's like, inside of me, I feel the most greedy. Inside of me, I feel the most powerful. Inside of me, I feel the most happy. Inside of me, I feel the most evil. And just like a whole list of different things. And it's like, while none of them are me completely, there's a piece of me in all of them. And I think humans are that, are just a cocktail of emotions and experiences and stories. And I think if you're constantly reading positive stuff about yourself, you start thinking you're someone that you're not.
Yeah.
And I'm just Harry, who tries really hard, is deeply curious, is deeply flawed. But, you know, I have people who love me and care for me, and I love and care for them as well. So
Yeah,
I think, like, we're human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't think that you're someone who is above anyone or below anyone, right?
No, and I guess that's like the same as like someone early in your career or as a child, if the mother's just constantly going like how good all the time, you think that you don't have to grow anymore. So you need that sort of element of like love, but also challenge.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just going to...
It's human nature, right?
Right? Like you need both elements there.
I always think it's like, I truly believe that the Taoism, which is like the biggest philosophy in China, and the yin and yang philosophy, I think we all have yin and yang inside of us. And even in the like the evil side of the yin and yang, it's like there's still some level of goodness. You know? And it's like they're both inside of us.
Yeah.
And we get the choice which one we want to live our life from, right? And there will be times that inevitably life will force you into the other one. Yeah. And you just got to recorrect course.
Yeah, that's right, mate. You've hit the nail on the head. And that's like fucking everyone I bring on this podcast is the same element of like, you got to take the punches, you know, you got to take the good times with the bad and positive and negative. You can't always strive for happiness, and you got sadness, you know, it's just the nature of how the universe works.
I felt like sometimes I've like self-sabotaged my reality sometimes to feel the shit emotion, you know, to like sometimes, because I always know like in the darkest times or in the like the harshest times that the universe can like force upon you. I think sometimes like, you know, diamond is built in pressure. And I think sometimes I've caught myself like sometimes blowing up my life or self-sabotaging my reality so then I can just feel the shit feeling and then start the growth to get back to a nice position.
The universe punishes you, right? If you're not being your most authentic self, then like the universe will just go, all right, here you go.
That. Yeah.
Have this, have that. What about this? That's what I uncovered in numerology test yesterday.
Yes.
Like it sort of said that I have to live the best version of myself and be healthy. And if I'm not, and I'm not authentic to myself, then because, you know, you're spiritual and I also conduct myself in a spiritual way. Because if you are tapped in like that, then the universe speaks to you more. You know what I mean? And that's what sort of I have to be authentic. Otherwise, if I'm not living a healthy, authentic life, I can't look after my team. I can't look after, you know, my partner, my friends, and let alone even think about having a family.
I've always thought, not always, but I've been thinking about this a lot over the last like 2-3 months. It's like the battle between your ego and your soul, and your soul is the pure authentic version of you, the vibration that just wants the best and just like lives more harmonious to what you're truly supposed to be. And the ego for me is the thing that like wants to keep me small and you know, take the easy option and the instant gratification and you know eat the bad food. It's like the thing that keeps me very, very small. And I think sometimes in my life, like I listen to the ego more than I listen to my soul, and the ego quickly loses respect for the soul if you continuously sit in those rooms where you're getting the immediate thing or getting the easy option or getting this money for not really working that hard, you know? Like I think if you sit there, the ego thinks it just controls you. And it's very nice to sort of always be on that battle between my soul and my ego. It's really nice.
And that's the essence of like living on that straight line and not being too volatile, right? Because like that is where the destruction happens.
Yeah. It's something like, it's like the wise mind. It's between the two. It's like the journey between the two where you can use both to your advantage. And I think I'm only in that wise mind for like I want to say like 10% of my reality. You know, I'm always working to get there, and then when I feel like I'm through it, I'm like, oh no, I've got to recenter myself.
Yeah, mate. Life's a constant push and pull, 100%. Now, what goes into a professional bout or even just an amateur bout? The training camps involved in it, the balance between nutrition and what we're talking about. Then, just from like a balance of life as well. What goes into a normal training camp, and what went into that most recent one?
Yeah, I think if you want to be the best in the world at something, I think it comes down to like obsession, you know, like I think you genuinely do need to, and it's the question that I've asked myself, like, is that what I want? Or do I just want to be like a really, really good athlete, or do I want to be the world's best? And I think that does come at a sacrifice, in the sense of like, I would argue that the best athletes or the best CEOs or these people we prop up in society of being the best in their field zoom in on the other areas of their life, and I think a lot of them are subpar, right? They don't see their kids enough, or they miss their kids grow up, or they prioritize their goal. Like, I actually feel sorry for someone like a Kelly Slater, who is deep into his 40s, or he could even be 50 now, I'm not sure.
No, he's 50.
He's still trying to search for that thing. Like, surely he's proven it to himself, and maybe he loves surfing, and I'm sure he does, but like, it still seems like he's trying to prove something. You know, it's like, surely
it's all or nothing, you know.
Surely you've like proven it to yourself.
There's got to be like what's the word? There's got to be, what's the other side? Like, what is the sacrifice and the byproduct of being that obsessed 24/7? I always think about Kelly Slater too, because it's like, how the fuck can someone be so on all the time for that your whole life?
It's impressive. It actually is impressive.
Mate, I reckon he's in terms of athletes go, like, he's got to be one.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure. He's definitely up there. But I think, like, and don't get me wrong, there are so many attributes that I would look to Kelly Slater for, but I think it's just thinking about, what man do I want to be when I'm 50? Do I want to be Kelly Slater, who is respected in this one field, but I don't know what his family life's like, or I don't know.
He's almost an anomaly in the Matrix.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, I'm just very conscious that I want like on my deathbed to have like my kids and my grandkids around, you know? And I think that's a bit more important to me than being the best boxer in the world. And maybe not having that obsession might not get me to the heights that I imagine, but I'd much prefer to be a dad than be a world champion who sleeps in clean hotel rooms and, you know, is quite lonely.
Mate, I completely respect that, and that same goes with me. I could, work more than I do with my business, but I know that I'd also like to have a bit of a blend and a work-life balance, more so than going all in on one profession or one niche part of business. Because then you end up just sacrificing everything. Like, I've built, a pretty solid business, but also I've enjoyed my life versus could have double, tripled it. But what do you sacrifice in the process? And like, life's the journey, it's not the destination, right? I think a lot of people, particularly in business, and same goes with athletes, they're probably chasing that end result. And if they don't get there, then where's the journey? They might enjoy it in the process.
I think that's something that I only realized in the last maybe 12 to 18 months, was just realizing that, like, for me, I always thought it was the end destination, and then you kind of don't realize that I had heaps of fun on the journey, right? I know that's such a cliche thing that everyone always talks about.
It's so important, though, to know. Yeah.
But I generally, for me, it's like, while I'm shooting for something really big, like I want to win a world title and retire on home soil, and while I do absolutely think that is like 100% a possibility, I've just got to grow and evolve into a better athlete and a better version of myself. But like, I also want to enjoy it and just know that, like, by the time I'm 30, 31, I hope to retire boxing, because I don't want too much brain damage, but I just want to enjoy these next 4 years, you know, like, really enjoy it. I've dedicated over 20 years of my life to something and just absolutely like loved most of the journey. And I'm just conscious of that, because I know that I'll wake up tomorrow and be 40 and boxing will be well and truly in the past.
Yeah.
And so just enjoy it now.
And it's not just about having that end game with boxing, but like, what's after that, So how many, in terms of fights, have you got like a bit of a number on how many fights you want to have until you retire, or is it just having that sort of world championship?
Yeah, it's really hard to know. I think most years I probably average 3 to 4, if not more, 3 or 4 more fights. And I think it does come down to like, how much damage am I taking, receiving? Just knowing that boxing's more of a long-term thing, in the sense of like, you don't realize the injuries you have now, and then I'll wake up at 40 and I'll struggle to talk. So I'm just conscious of that. The more damage that you take over the next 4 years, you know, maybe I might need to cut it short. Maybe I can extend. I won't know that until I'm really like very much on the roller coaster. So I'm just excited for the next 2-3 years and just want to grow, as I said, to a better athlete and a better version of myself, and in that get my respect back. And then I think when I've got that, I think the universe will start offering me things. You know, I think that's what will happen.
And it's a smart realization too. I remember even Joe Rogan comparing the difference between UFC and boxing, and like the damage you take with UFC obviously is your entire body. You know, you can get some pretty severe injuries in UFC, but boxing, like you're getting targeted at the head all the time, right? Yeah. So like, the amount of repetition, you're right. It's like people don't understand, even though you got gloves on, that, there is obviously, you know.
Did you know that actually, I think there turned out to be more brain damage and more deaths when they put gloves on.
Really?
Because
why is that?
When you punch without a glove, it's like your hand can only take so much without breaking.
Okay.
You know? So there is, arguably, you might get hit with that initial shot, but then you've broken your hand, so you can't hit that.
So naturally, you wouldn't fight for that long.
When you've got gloves on, it's like you can cop that much damage in your gloves. You know, so you're copping more rattles of the brain, more knocks, more trauma. Where it's like when you don't have gloves on, it's just that.
So it's actually a completely unnatural way of fighting.
Yes.
It prolongs the duration of a normal fight.
I'm not saying I would ever do bare knuckle boxing.
Oh,
like, you know, I like having gloves on, but like,
that shit looks scary. Yeah. But that's like what you're saying. It's all very smart realizations, which I'm sure like you tapped in spiritually, you know, you've got your head screwed on. I'm sure a lot of athletes probably just go in head first and don't have these plans or realizations and come off the back of it. And, you know, there's a lot of athletes and sports people that don't have what is my plan after my career? You know, even NRL players, like how long can they play footy for? What's the plan after that? You know, and there's a lot of like mental health issues after that. So I know you're developing your personal brand. What's some of the things? I mean, I know you're sort of letting the universe sort of do its thing, but is there anything you sort of got planned post-boxing career? Thinking that far ahead or not really?
No, definitely thinking that far ahead. I think there's a few avenues that I think I could explore, but I think it very much like I know what my life has felt like living with passion and purpose. You know, for most of my boxing career, I've woke up most days knowing where I want to go and sort of really enjoying it. Like I would jump out of bed like when I was younger at 5 a.m. to go for a run because I loved it. I was obsessed. So I think whatever the next thing is, there's a few doors that I may explore, but whatever the next thing is, I just got to make sure that has that passion, and has that purpose and has that direction, because I know what it feels like. And if I'm not feeling like that in what I'm doing, I've experienced it before, so life will feel very flat. But I think boxing is a 1% of what the universe has to offer. If I want to be a monk, I can go do that. If I want to be a carpenter, I can go do that. Like we are bound by the limitations we put on ourselves. And there's so many things that excite me. I'm excited to experience that, whatever it is.
And if all else fails, you can clean windscreens at the traffic lights.
I do. I'd never done it before, and I didn't realize that I put way too much detergent in the bottle, and I screwed up the boat. I put too much on. I'm trying to wipe it off, and the light's gone green.
It just wouldn't wipe off.
And it wouldn't wipe off. And I'm thinking, he's just driving. He's giving me 50 cents. He's just driving with can't even see out of the window. I felt so bad.
I always wonder, like, you know, hats off to, you know, the homeless that are getting around that and trying to make a buck, but you know, you're going to walk away and put your windscreen wipers on anyway. Like the theory behind it sort of never made sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. Mine's more like they're trying to do something, which I admire.
Yeah.
I love that they're like, there's the reason why I did it was I can't remember. It's like on the golf course, Moore Park. I don't know what road it is, but there's a bloke there every day, and my boxing gym was close by.
The one that sort of limps a little
bit?
Yeah.
With the bad knee.
Parrot on his shoulder.
Yeah, with the bad knee. Yeah.
The parrot just disappeared one day.
I started talking to him almost every day because I would be there every day, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know this guy's life story. I don't know if he's tried to get work, if he has a criminal record, but he's there religiously
all the time,
Monday to Friday, if not Monday to Sunday. You know,
doing overtime.
He's doing overtime. And I'm like, he deserves. Just every time I'm there, I either have a chat with him. I won't even say that because I think people, you protest the things that you do.
Yeah.
It's fake. But I've just built a relationship with him, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, mate. I think the same. And there's one time I was the other end on Centennial, and there was he just looked like a normal father. sometimes they look a bit rough, and this one looked like, and I wanted to loop back around and give him money.
Have you seen the one at like
I felt really
near the
bad.
trams at Moore Park?
Which ones?
The one near the trams at Moore Park.
Yeah.
And I swear he's like wearing Ralph Lauren some days. What's going on?
That's what I mean. Like some of them look like legit. Maybe they're just doing like monthly exercise, like
who knows?
as normal people. Anyway, I was like waiting for the day I'd see him again, just so I give him $20. I'm like, hey, like, well, you look completely normal. Anyway, a bit off track there, mate. In terms of like, obviously, there's not just yourself with like building this like philosophy mentally and physically, but having a team around you. Like, I'm sure you've got nutritional experts, physical trainers, mental fucking whatever it is, just coaches around you. What goes into a camp? Because I know a lot of people probably just think it's, a couple of people training in the gym, but I'm sure there's more to it. Like what goes into, I guess, the guys behind you building you up to about.
Yeah, it's boxing is still quite old fashioned. Like there is a lot of boxing coaches out there who very much are like, nah, this is the recipe for success, and it's very much old fashioned. But I'm really grateful that the people around me are very much like, I love trying new things, and it might add, it might subtract, but if you don't try, you won't know. So I've got, this guy called Trent Langlands. I train with him twice a week, and every session he has a new activity for me. And it's like, he's one of the most creative men that I've ever been around. So he
just tricks you every time.
Yeah, it's really like, and that's more like strength and conditioning. Obviously got the boxing coach, got dietitians. A lot of like my mental stuff, we did heaps in the amateurs Olympics. But I always think like, when it comes to mental stuff, it's like there is that much information out there on your phone. Just use your phone to your advantage. Listen to the podcast. Listen to the people that are listen to these podcasts, and action. That is the biggest thing. You can listen to as many things as you want.
That's true.
But if you don't action what you're hearing, and maybe that means listen to less, but action more. Rather than like sometimes I very much notice that I listen to heaps and don't action anything because there's too much like paralysis. But I think if you genuinely want to make some changes, just listen to one podcast, pick one thing, action that into your life for the next week, 2 weeks. If it makes a difference, great. If not, try the next thing,
Yeah. Mate, that's it there. And like that's a really good point there, because you're right. You can have information overload, particularly when you're not actioning it. Back when I did the marketing job for that event company, the public speakers, you'd see some characters go to like every single event. We call them like event junkies. They would buy the program and then not action it, but they're having that like sort of dopamine release of like, cool, I've got this next program I'm going to sink my teeth into. Then they're at this next event. So there's a lot of people out there that will like consume something but not action it. And you'd rather go to an event or watch a podcast or do something, and like you said, have one takeaway. That's it, just implement it. Because you can have also like a mood board of goals, and if you've got 20 goals there, like it's you're not going to know where to start. Like have 3 max.
I've definitely noticed like once or twice a year I have some really low points. Like it's quite natural. I think I've got really high highs, so then I have some quite low lows. And something that usually always helps me if I'm in something for like longer than a week, 2 weeks, like I'm really in this low state and I feel like my vibration's starting to get real low. Like I do a 24-hour fast, and I think it doesn't matter what you do. There is obviously evidence behind fasting and benefits, and there's also some conflicting things as well. But I think it's like, because I lost my word with myself, and that's why I feel flat, because I make these little promises like tomorrow I'm going to be different, and then you don't be different. And then you start feeling flatter and flatter and shitter. And it's like just choosing one hard thing that's relatively hard. We all love to eat. We all love the routine of eating. And I think if you can just pick one thing, it could be mowing the lawns, it could be whatever it is, but pick that one thing. And it's just like a little slight degree shift inside self. You said you were going to do something and you did it, and you feel a little bit more positive, and then you stack that over day. And I think in time, you're just in a completely different destination.
It's like you're banking that action and it just keeps compounding, right? Rather than like the more you leave something, it festers. And then it never happens.
Harder. Like I look at someone like my dad, and I love my dad. He's a great man. He's worked fucking hard to get to where he is. Like, but like he's past the point now where his body's breaking down on him. He's unfit. He's unhealthy. And I think he's gone too far in that how hard it would be for him to go to the gym or to just get out and do it. Where it's like, for me, training's like, I'd love to train. I'd do it every day. So it's like, it's not hard for me to get up and go for a run. But when you're in something for so long, it is so hard. So I think it's better to crack it early before it gets banked up and you're 60.
Yeah, 100%. It's like use it or you lose it, right? I had a shoulder operation. I was out at I don't know if you've had, I had to labor in repair. So that was like 6 months. But it took me like a good year and a half to properly get back on track. And like that gave me an insight of like having a injury and not being able to train and getting back into it, how hard it was for me to get back to like normality and the bad habits you build just from like, oh, well, I'm injured, so I'm going to eat this and I'm going to do that. And you just fucking end up.
You're the victim to yourself.
Right. And I thought like, oh, it's all right. I'm just going to enjoy myself and just eat what I want. It's COVID. I'll rebuild it. I know how to train and fucking actually build some pretty bad habits during that process. It really like took me a while to get out of that rut. And it was like, once I got out of it, I was like, fuck, that was a bit of a hectic experience, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, having the tools in the shed to be able to, like training, for instance, or even just going to the gym, I know I have to have that life commitment because I'm sitting down at the desk. If I don't do that, like even just 4 hours in a week, I'm going to have a life of misery at the end of it.
Funny you said that. You just sparked something that I've thought about. I've got this like analogy with tools. You said tools in the shed, but I think we all have a tool belt, right? And from a young age, we pick up things, whether it be from our parents, from our community, we pick up tools, and some are negative, some are positive, but they all get us through the environment that we're in when we're younger. And I think as we grow older, we start realizing, oh, maybe this tool doesn't serve me anymore. I'm acting in a negative way because I don't need to act in a negative way anymore, but like I had to when I was younger. And I think we slowly but surely gain more awareness as we grow old and we start picking up different tools to counteract the tools.
Well, they go blunt, so it's not clear.
Of course. But I think once you pick up a tool and put it on your belt, you can never take it off.
Yeah.
So it's like, addiction runs in my family. There's been many times in my life where I have been addicted to numerous different things. And I've been at some pretty low points because of them. And it's like, I'll never not lose the ability to be an addict. I've just picked up better things, so I don't need to pick up that. But I can't deny that right situation, right thing would probably throw me back into picking up that tool and trying to get through my environment. So it's like just being aware that it's always there, but just pick up better things to make sure you can see it and don't pick up that tool as much.
It's an important comment because it's like you can't just drop something once you know it's there. It's about managing it better, right?
Yeah, picking up things that are more to you, more authentic to you, right? Because I think the things we pick up when we're younger, we do because of survival. We do because we're so vulnerable, especially under 10, we're quite vulnerable. We're quite narcissistic. We think every problem is because of us, right? Where it's like, you sort of realize as you grow old, it's like, there's so many factors that go into the environment that you have. Right?
And that's how like an addiction forms, right? When you just go out and trying everything and then it just forms a habit, then it becomes addiction and you only break an addiction when it becomes painful, as they say.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a really good point because I think a lot of people think that like, addiction is just something that you can just pick up and drop. But yeah, it's like once you've got it, you've got it. It's just about how to manage it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and it's personality driven too, I reckon. I think some people are susceptible to it than others.
Yeah, it's funny. So me and my oldest brother, he was in and out of prison for 5-6 years, had a pretty hectic ice addiction, then it turned to heroin. And me and him are very similar, as in personality wise, we're definitely way more similar than my middle brother. And for me, it's like I could have 100% ended up where he ended up, but I had like a passion. I had something that I had real interest in. And I think I'm so bloody grateful for boxing and for finding something from a young age and my parents giving me opportunity and to go try new things. I'm really grateful for that because I think I could have been a completely different man, and just knowing that that's inside of me potentially and just like learning better ways to deal with, I guess, more negative emotions. Yeah.
I always find it's funny how like people have their everyday vices and other people like will binge it. Like I'm a binger. Like I can't, I'll do something to the point where I'm over it and I just won't do it for like, a month. It's like buying a new jacket, you wear it every day and like, I'm over it. So I just binge everything, but like even that in itself is hard to overcome. Because like I'll get on a good path and then I'll just be like, oh, let's go celebrate. And then it's just like the whole next week is just written off. So it's like, we all have different vices, whether it's food, whether it's like, I don't know, going out or whatever. There's a lot of things that I think everyone don't realize that they've got inside of them. And I think like even, sugar as an example.
It's a hard one.
Try getting off sugar and caffeine in one go.
Yeah.
Like I did that through a 10-day detox. No problem with giving up alcohol over an extended period of time, but sugar and coffee, like that was like a 3-day hangover.
Yeah. It's
insane how ingrained sugar is in our everyday diets.
Yeah. There's this guy called Tim Grover who worked directly with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He's got a couple of good books. Relentless is one of them. And he talks about getting some of his athletes off sugar, and some of them go into like sweats. And
full on.
It's like pretty gnarly, especially in America. Like their sugar's way worse than here, but we're not far behind them, right? Like cutting out sugar is almost like impossible at times.
I was like the first day after it, 24 hours, I was like at work and could not concentrate, splitting headaches. The day after it, I was like crashing in mood swings. Third day, I was just like, what the fuck? How, like, this can't just keep, like, surely I've got to start feeling good at some point. And then
still waiting.
Yeah. I'm still waiting today. It was just a 10-day fucking hangover. No, it wasn't until probably like the 4th day, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Because I only have one coffee. Like, it's not like I have 3 or 4 coffees.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't eat a lot during the day. I have like breakfast, one salad, and then at night I'll usually eat most of my food. But there's obviously a lot of sauces and sugars I was having in my diet. And
we don't realize, right?
You don't realize it. Yeah. Going on the carnivore diet, like that's basically what it was. It was just meat and vegetables and no fruit. And like
for 10 days?
10 days, yeah. That opened my eyes to, I've got a friend who does like 40-day water fast.
Yeah, wow.
Which is hectic.
Yeah.
I think it was 20-day water fast and 20-day juice fast after that. So 40 days in total. I can't fathom that. That's insane.
I did a 7-day. I can't even imagine what,
Mate,
any longer than that.
Even 7 days is hectic.
You know what's interesting though? Like I very much thought it was going to be like a really hard week. I thought like I crave food, like I'm an athlete. My body's always sort of wanting nutrients, but like I was arguably in one of the most peaceful states I've ever been in. Like I didn't have mood swings, and it really made me conscious of like, I wonder how much in my diet are making me go up and crash, or maybe I'm having too much sugar, or, it was actually really interesting to just feel so peaceful, lack of energy. Like I couldn't go do a hard session, but like mentally was just so peaceful. I was nice to be around. I didn't sort of like debate anyone. I just like was like so calm. It was really nice.
Well, it's amazing what you put in your body, and like drugs alone, like food, it can be a drug, and it is, right? Like fuck, there's so much processed shit out there. It's like sugar, they say, is the biggest addiction that most people have.
For sure.
But yeah, I notice it when I do cleanses and then I start eating, like how much of an impact certain foods have on my body. And that's like, rather than like blaming it on, stress or whatever, like you can actually tell what foods, you know, and like everyone's different. Everyone will respond differently to certain diets, right?
It's pretty crazy to think that we like have so much accessibility, like only probably in the last not even 100 years, like we can get fruits from any part of the time of the year. We can get like veggies from any time of the year. We can get any type of food we want. And I wonder how much that plays with our body. Like our ancestors wouldn't have been able to get apples this time of the year because there was no apples.
That's
right?
True.
Whereas like it's crazy to think that we have so much accessibility.
We're not meant to be eating that food at that time of year.
If our ancestry is back to somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Africa or wherever it is, it's like at some point in the year we wouldn't have had certain foods, and we're just like consuming everything
all at once. Yeah.
I think it's very strange.
I never thought about that, but that's a good point. Now, I mean, like advice, I'm sure there's a lot of people, again, like I said before, that look up to you. What advice would you give people sort of looking to turn pro, or at least getting into some sort of professional career, and like what sort of things that and tools in the toolkit that you need to have to prepare yourself for such a journey like you've had?
I think self-reflection and curiosity for me has just always been the biggest one. Like asking, like, what role did I play in this? Whether it be a good or a bad outcome, And I think I definitely felt at times in my life where it's like something bad happens to you and you want to point a finger at someone else, and it's their fault or that thing's fault. But I think when you can turn the mirror back on yourself and what did I do in this situation to get this outcome, whether it be good or bad. And I think when we are constantly asking ourselves that, whether that be in friendships, relationships, sporting career, if you're always asking yourself questions around why and trying to look at it from, yes, a self-critical lens, but rather more of a curiosity lens, I think it just breeds positive growth, because you're always reflecting on my performance, or, how sometimes I'm like quite almost like it's quite intense. My brain, it's very active, but I'll be like in a conversation. I'm sure after this, like I'll probably forget most of what we talk about because I'm in it. But say I have a conversation that wasn't on camera, I would very much be in the conversation thinking about how I'm showing up for this. Why did I say that differently? Why did I act a little bit different? Did I want to be accepted? Why did I want to be accepted? Like that's what's going on in my brain.
Critiquing yourself.
Critiquing, which, you know, some people would argue that's negative, but it has inevitably made me grow into a better version. It's just having a better relationship with it and just realizing that when there's something that's critiquing too much, just be like, hey, like, you know, a little bit more compassion for yourself or
be kind.
Yeah, but it's like sometimes you need to be a bit brutal and be like, hey, you acted differently then and you showed up as a shitter version of yourself. Why'd you do that?
Yeah, look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's actually necessary, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I very much have done in my boxing career, is just always reflecting on like, this is the cards that have been dealt. What role did I play in these being dealt?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Now, I know that we've sort of talked a lot about, you know, stuff you do outside of boxing, but now having, you know, your 4th win under your belt, what's sort of the plan coming up to, you know, your next fight? Like what are you doing right now?
I would definitely love 2 more fights, if not 3 for the rest of the year.
Okay.
I got cut in my last fight, so that puts you back a couple more weeks.
It's looking like it's healed though already.
It's healed really well. So I can't do contact for, they say 4 months.
Is that because the scar tissue so it can open up quickly?
Yeah. So it's just like, just being conscious of that. There's no point risking it. But I've been back at the gym pretty much every day. So like staying fit, staying healthy, definitely 2 fights for the rest of the year, if not 3.
Yeah.
And just sort of like, I definitely don't feel like I'm at my capacity, you know, like I know what I'm capable of. I know when I felt my best, and I feel like I'm not quite there yet. So I think over the next 2 or 3 fights, just getting back to the best that I can be, and then obviously surpassing that in time. Yeah,
nice one. Very good. Now, before we finish up, last question, and I know we've been pretty retrospective already, so you might have already answered this, but if you could wind the clock back and let's say you're talking to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself?
I get asked this a bit, but it's probably more younger, but I wouldn't say a thing. I wouldn't say a thing. I think I would just give him a hug. Yeah, I think it would be different if my life didn't turn out the way that I wanted. But I very much do think I've been quite conscious about my direction. You know, there's been many times in my life where people really close to me have told me to do something different because they didn't believe that I could make something of my boxing career, or, you know, and I've just never listened, you know. I've just very much focused on what I'm doing. But I think my younger version of myself just needed a hug. You know, I feel like it's in that hug, they would feel like it's going to be okay, whatever they're doing. And I feel like that's all that he would need. Yeah, well said. Well, Harry, mate, thanks for coming on. I'm looking forward to what's in store over the next 12 months, the next 2 fights. And congratulations on your success today. Let's go, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.